Hello, fellow punters. You're very welcome to the weekly Bookie Basher show, where I will be joined shortly by the Stig. On the show this week, we will find out from him what tickled his fancy in the past week. I'm sure there were a few. I'll be giving out my selections later for tomorrow, Friday, and we'll get the next best and each way selection for the weekend from my guest. First, I'd like to thank all the viewers for their comments on last night's video. It's very much appreciated. As I said in reply to one comment, I never have any long-term plans for the channel. I play it by ear and I act by instinct and I go with the flow. Thanks for all the likes. I think it's a record for last night. It's I checked there a while ago, it's over 250, which is very good to see. And for newcomers, subscribe to the channel. It helps, they say. I'm not sure how, but I'm sure people that's in the know knows what I mean. I'd like to play something for you first. Marine Nationale, it ran in Punchestown on the 12th of October on Wednesday. I could not have talked about the horses that tickled my fancy this week without mentioning this monster. I was in Killarney when this horse won his bumper, and my God, he looked a picture, showing his dominant size and scope alongside my gaffer when they both levelled up for the home straight. Barry Connell has quoted this son of French Navy as one of the best he's ever had, and it's easy to see why. He started his hurling career in Punchestown last Wednesday, and he certainly lived up to the hype. He pulled hard for the majority of the race, but showed his appetite for hurling by attacking his hurls and gaining lengths on his opposition. The most impressive part of the race for me was how he flew the last with the perfect jump and accelerated away, showing his speed to win his maiden by 4 lengths ease down. This is the horse I expect to be up to trip at some stage in the season, but for now I think Barry Connell will be happy with his gears and speed he showed in his maiden. This is the horse I think will take high rank. And now we move on.
Kylie and Irish Point matching strides. Ashrow Diamond is poised on the outside of Marine Nationale. It rests between these four as they come down to the second last. Irish Point nudges in front. From on the inside, Champ Kylie, they're over together. Ashrow Diamond and being angled to try and come with the runners. Marine Nationale in between the final two and the Royal Bond. And it's Irish Point. Here's Marine Nationale on the outside, who made a slight mistake. Then Champ Kylie inside the final 150 yards. It's Irish Point from Marine Nationale, who's coming with every stride. They're going to the line. Irish Point, Marine Nationale on the near side. Marine Nationale and Irish Point have put it to the judge. Then Ashrow.
That was my highlight of the week. And the reason I played the first one, that was the very first Bookie Basher show that we done, and it was when I was reading out what the Stig had sent on to me, and people were, I don't pound my chest too often, if ever, but I have to give credit to the Stig. If you knew him, he's very knowledgeable in his horses, as he proved again last week with Nap and the Mighty Potter. He's more a national hunt man than a flash man, but he knows form lines in both codes. So let's hope he will be around with us for quite some time. That was my highlight of the week. He may touch on it later, I don't know. We never consult to what we're doing at all. He does his thing and I do mine. At this point, I will ask the Stig what tickled his fancy this week.
A lot of horses came out over the last week that impressed me, but here are a few that tickled my fancy in particular. Top of the list was Willie Mullen's French import Lossiemouth, who ran in the Grade 3 juvenile hurdle on Sunday. For me, this was up there with the performance of the weekend. To do what she did on her first start over hurdles in a Grade 3 is some sign of the horse she may be. She cruised through her race 3 or 4 wide, and the most impressive part of the whole race was how quick she accelerated after the last to put lengths between herself and Zarak the Brave, who's no slouch, as we've seen, who won his maiden by 15 lengths on his first start. She's earned herself a price of 3-1 for the Triumph after being 10s and 11s before the race. Next up on the list was my nap from last weekend, which was Mighty Potter, who won the Drinmore on Sunday in Fairyhouse. I always thought fences would be the making of this fella, and I didn't think the race in Down Royal would have suited him very much, having to make his own running. This race was run at a better pace, and I knew this would allow him to travel through his race and improve his jumping. He stumbled after one in the back and demonstrated his scope, having launched himself through the next one, and he made it to the other side. Other than that, his jumping was pretty spot on, and what I liked about his two mistakes, especially the first one where he stumbled, was that he found his feet. And as a novice, to find that landing gear is a great sign of the horse's head and his ability to get himself out of trouble. Moving on, the next horse that tickled my fancy was the horse you saw earlier in the video, and that was Marine Nationale, who won the Royal Bond. So I put this horse up a few weeks ago as one that took my eye, and in the race again he took my eye here. Everything went against him, and he still got the job done. The ground had turned soft, which didn't plan out the way Barry Connell would have. And also Michael O'Sullivan found himself in a bit of trouble, but the horse dug deep and would not be denied. After looking like he was going to hose up coming to the last, he landed on all fours and put himself in a spot of bother. But I love how the horse showed his attitude to win, and it's a fair sign of the engine he has. And listening to Barry Connell afterwards, you expect even more improvement on a bit of better ground, and he's around 8-1 for the Supreme at the moment. Two horses that deserve an honourable mention this week as well was Edward Stone, who won the Tingle Creek. He seems to be improving at a rapid rate. He travelled with zest and powered home, and the thing I love most about Edward Stone is the way he finishes his races. He always seems to be just powering to the line, which is obviously a good sign of a horse. The next horse then that deserves a mention is John Bon. He did as expected and what I would expect of any top grade 1 novice chaser to do, and beat Boot Hill convincingly. The jury is still out with me for John Bon in terms of winning the Arkle. I would like to see what Willie has and Gordon has in Ireland, but I wouldn't be taking him on as of yet. And the last horse that I wanted to mention for the week, which is an eye catcher for me, was Explosive Boy in the 302 in Ferryhouse on Saturday. This horse was going to absolutely trot up before falling 2 out. This horse was beaten ahead in Cheltenham in the November meeting as well, and off a mark of 113, I definitely think he's got a race in him going forward, so he's one that I'll be keeping an eye out for the future.
Thanks for that, Stig. I'll be back to you again shortly. I'm going to give one of my selections for tomorrow. It's in the 245 at Doncaster. It's a 2 miles, 3 hurdles, 7 runners. 2 favourites in the last 8 runnings, but mostly a well-fancied shot wins. The biggest prize was a 13-2 shot. Fine casting for Ben Pauling. It's out of Shantou, 6-year-old. But I was impressed with it the last time it ran in Cheltenham, the way it travelled into the race. It was jumped the last in front. That was 2 miles 5. It was the first time he was up in trip beyond the 2-4 mark, but he's better at 2-2, and with this race tomorrow at 2-3, I think it'll suit. He went up £4 for that, but he's an improving 6-year-old. It's 2-1 in the betting there. That's the only betting that's up. Actually, the clock on the wall says 3:10, so I might as well say now we had Wamalco's just after going in there a few minutes ago, and her target absolutely hosed up, and the race in Warwick was called off. A buzz horse beat us last night in Kimpton, Pontelius, and we needed him before to be in the first 3, and he wasn't there, but that's the way. And I wouldn't mind, I done a reverse forker last night, Bandinelli and Pontelius. Bandinelli was pipped for second, but onwards and upwards we go. I'd like to ask the Stig at this point, with the upcoming race on the weekend, what horses has he in mind to be keeping an eye on?
The horses that I'm most looking forward to all run within a half an hour of each other on Sunday. So the first horse obviously I'm looking forward to seeing back is Galopin Des Champs in the John Durkin on Sunday in Punchestown. It's his first race in open company, so I'm just going to watch him and see how he gets on. He's up against some nice horses in there, like Statler's another one that I'll be keeping an eye on in the race, with an eye for the future. The next race is the 235 in Punchestown, where Appreciated begins his chasing life. And again, it's just going to be a watch and brief to see how he tackles his fences, with an eye to the Cheltenham Festival, and see, do I think he'll go Arkle maybe, or do I think he'll stay at the Turner's Trip. And the last one then that we're going to watch is the 220 in Cork. So in the middle of their last two is Anyharminasking in the Hilly Way in Cork, just to see is he in as good a health as he was last year and how he performs overall, and look at his jumping. But they're the three horses that I'm really looking forward to seeing the weekend.
I'm just going to look at the Cheltenham card tomorrow. I see betting suspended there in the 12:05. I'm not sure why. Is it ground wise or is it an on runner or what? I was saying about Delta Work being down to run tomorrow. It's unlikely that it can win, with given that so much weight away. Even Tiger Roll couldn't do that. They'll be carrying level weights in the cross country championship or handicap in March, but he does like the banks and the confines of the inside track. So anyone that fancies them would want to be doing a bet, say for Cheltenham. I think he's 3-1. In the 12:40 tomorrow, I'm only going to go through these. I've one bet at Cheltenham, but I'll just give a brief synopsis of this. Nicky Henderson won this with Chantry House in 2019, and he won it with a 4-year-old in 2009 in General Miller, and he's a 4-year-old going this year at Attica. I said it right the third time, and it ran well enough the last time, and it pulled away in Kempton. It's only a 4-year-old, but the slight step up in distance and the hill will suit it. It's a 4-1 shot there. With the 115, so Mr. Coffey is in it. He was second in the Kim Muir, wasn't it? You'd imagine he has been pulled out a couple of times on account of him not the ground dependent. So if he runs, the thinking is safe enough, and he probably will win. The 150, there's a horse in this. It's a very early bus horse. It's Legends Ride. It was the first 2-time winner of a horse on the bus. It was last March, and I think it was the 9th of March. Well, let's see. Yeah, the 9th of March and the 8th of April. It won 4-1 and 11-4. It had a good run the last day in a listed chase. I think that might be worth an each way bet. In this race, the 225, there's a link to a horse that done us a good turn. Is Eva's Oscar was second to Dussino. He knew that day. That's strong enough for him. So she could be maybe used as in an each way bets as well. This is a bet I'm going to put up is in the 3 o'clock Anyharminasking. The only horse that beat Constitution Hill. It beat Constitution Hill in a point-to-point in April 2021. It was third the last day in a race, but it ran on very well, and I'd love to see it stepping up even further in trip, even to 2.5 mile. But it finished very well, I thought, under the stands rail. It was nearly out of the picture a lot, the stretch run, and I think that has a good chance tomorrow. So we'll go a pint each way on that, and I've no great opinion on the next race. I'd like to ask the Stig at this point, has he any horses notebooked in the past week?
One horse that went into the notebook after last weekend was a horse who ran in the 11:55 in Fairyhouse on Sunday, which was a 2-3.5 handicap chase, and it was Henry de Bromhead's horse Mascada. This horse travelled really well into the race, jumped really well the whole way around, and unfortunately stumbled after the second last, and it looked like he was coming there. Darragh O'Keefe didn't ask any questions up until this point and looked like it was coming to win her race, should I say. until it came down. This is a horse that I'll be looking at next time. It was a soft fall, so I don't think the fall will take too much out of her, and it's definitely one that I'll keep an eye next time out.
I want to show you a replay of.
Begins a run with
The
next
horse in
Maximum
purple.
Next and then White Strand racing
Horse in
towards the
purple
final
goes last
furlong, still in
the
front
whole
is
way.
Paul Law from Musical Rhapsody, instrumental on the outside of a Shenandoah, then next Maximum and White Strand staying on as Princess Wannabe. It's a wave of three now going to the line. Musical Rhapsody gets up from a Shenandoah and Paul Law.
That was a horse there, Lady Wannabe. A Princess Wannabe. It's the last race tomorrow night at Dundalk, and it's a half sister to Lady Wannabe. It was his first run in a handicap, and I think that's worth a pint each way tomorrow night. Also tomorrow night in Dundalk, we have Samrogue running in the 8 o'clock. We have Leclerc. They're two bust horses as well, and Dream Today. So I'll put up some of them later when I see the prices and what I'm going to do with them. I might put them in an each way lucky 15 or something for the people. Finally, I'd like to ask the Stig what is his nap, his next best, and his each way selection for the weekend. Peter Wood was last week's person, and to be 7 points. The nap. The Stig landed the nap. That opened up at 6-1 on the track, 11-2. SP at 3-1. We're going with SP prices. And the placed horse as well was at 8-1. So Peter Wood is the leader in that competition now with 7 points. And this week I've chosen Breda King. She is one of the new chefs on the bus. And I'm going to also put her in charge of making stuffing. I love stuffing on my Christmas dinner. So she might put an extra little bit of flavour into it for me for Christmas. So that's this week is Breda King.
So my selections for this week are as follows. My nap is going to be in the 1:15 in Cheltenham on Saturday, and it's going to be Gary Moore's Editor de Gite. This horse ran 4th in the Grand Annual at the festival. He performs well around Cheltenham. He's going to go from the front, and hopefully he will be there at the line. This will be the target all year, as he won it last year as well. So this horse is going to be my nap for the week, and he's currently 3-1. My next best is going to be in Cork on Sunday in the 250, and it's going to be Green Glory. This is the horse's first time in a handicap. He was on my radar after an eye-catching run in a maiden in Galway behind 3-card Bragg, Sandor Clegane and Nucky Johnson. The two former horses of those, Sandor Clegane and Nucky Johnson, have both won since, but there is a small bit of risk involved because it is a Charles Burns horse and it's his first time in the handicap, so if a bit of money comes for it, it looks like it'll be off. I don't know what price it is at the moment, as none of the races are priced up for Sunday. My next best then is a bit of a flyer, and he runs in the 12:05 on Saturday, which is the juvenile hurdle in Cheltenham, and it's John McConnell's Jackpot du Choiset, and he's currently 10-1. This horse costs €200,000, and John McConnell is fairly cute when it comes to paying big prices for horses, and he usually gets the best out of them. So if you look at it, one of his bigger purchases of the year so far, Icanto Bruno, also won in Cheltenham. So he usually brings them with obviously the intention of running and winning. So at 10-1, I think each way is a good price for him, and hopefully he will be as good as his price tag suggests. And coming from the trainer, John McConnell, I think he'll run a good race.
I'll be back tomorrow evening with a look at the Cheltenham Saturday card, and I'd like to thank the Stig for joining me again this week, and thanks for his thoughts and his comments. So for this week, it's from Mickey D, the Bookie Basher, and from the Stig. Bash the bookies, over and out.